Okay, y'all should be able to hear me now. Let me see.
Did I literally just say all of that on mute? Oh my God. Okay, so let's run that back. Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. So, I'm feeling extra good today. I want to just thank everybody for rocking with me on Tuesdays, and I really appreciate you guys' support. And I take this time with you, particularly every Tuesday. I take it very seriously. So thank y'all for supporting me. A special thanks to my patrons and my VIP patrons, Michael, Ray, and Daniel. Also, if you would like to become a member of my Patreon, you can find that link below, as well as a link for these cute little Hey Y'all mugs and my teas. Okay. So, I was talking to myself there for a few minutes, but it's all right. We're back on track. All right, y'all. So, hopefully, hopefully, thank you, Raymond. I don't know, something different today. Like I don't know. Maybe it could be because the country is finally reopening and like, well, a, a little bit supposedly. We're moving towards that, and we're gonna talk about that tonight as well. But there has been a lot going on, so much going on in the media these past couple of days, and we're gonna, of course, talk about a few of these things. So let's start off with the finale. That What did I tell y'all in my rant? I think this was 2 weeks ago, like 2 weeks, a week and a half ago. I made this whole rant because I was like, I knew it. I knew when I saw that first state, it was New York. I knew it. I said, y'all watch. This is going to be like a domino effect. You're going to have New York, and then who have been the other top key players being highlighted in the media? Illinois, Michigan, and California. And just like that, every single one of these people have come out to make these statements just coincidentally, right? Total coincidence, about them getting ready to open back up. And, I think a lot of us that, well, I can't maybe say a lot of us, so I'll speak for myself, and some of you may be able to relate. But I think when you kind of see a lot of the propaganda and the lies and the misinformation and the evilness that goes on, I think you go through different phases of, I can't believe this. Did they really just do that? Oh, I see what they did there. Oh, okay. So like, this is pissing me off, to it's like a cycle or something that goes on, and I go through those cycles. So like, that last video, I was like, what the heck, how could they dare do this? And then they're so obvious about it, and now I'm just like, man, like, it's crazy. But anyway, so let's look at this, starting with against the mic. I think that's my hair. All right, let's look at this, starting with um California. California lifts stay-at-home order. Outdoor dining and salons to reopen. California lifted its regional stay-at-home order Monday, paving the way for outdoor dining and indoor salons to operate again and ending some of the most restrictive coronavirus orders in the country. California is returning to a tiered reopening, which places counties into colored tiers based on caseloads and positivity rates. At the outset, Nearly every county will likely land in the most restricted purple tier, allowing for outdoor dining and limited indoor salon services. The tier system is less stringent, blah, blah, blah. So it just goes on to talk about this, right? Like all of a sudden, the ICU admissions appear to be plateauing. Do they appear to be plateauing, or do you actually know? Do they appear to be plateauing, or do we actually know? So this is according to Yahoo News. California keeps key virus data at a public site. This is Yahoo News. Y'all gonna be surprised. I don't know if it's because we're past the Trump era or what, but I guess they're trying to go. You have these other sources trying to go back to investigative reporting. So let's check this out. California Governor Gavin Newsom has from the start said his coronavirus policy decisions will be driven by data shared with the public to provide maximum transparency. Oh, yeah, sure. But with the state starting to emerge from its worst surge, his administration won't disclose key information that will help when his uh, when his latest stay-at-home order is lifted. State health officials said they rely on a very complex set of measures that would confuse and potentially mislead the public if they were made public. Translation, we think y'all stupid. This is exactly what they're saying. Translation, we think you're stupid. We think this information is either so complex that y'all are not going to be able to understand it, or we're using that excuse as a lie because we know y'all going to, this information is really going to solidify that we lied about all of this. Dr. Lee Riley, chairman of the University of California, Berkeley School of Public Health Infectious Disease Division, disagreed. There is more uncertainty created by not releasing the data that only the state has access to, he said in an email. Its release would allow outside experts to assess its value for projecting trends and the resulting decisions on lifting restrictions, he wrote. Newsom, a Democrat, imposed the nation's first statewide shutdown in March. His administration developed reopening plans that included benchmarks for virus data, such as per capita infection rates that counties needed to meet to relax restrictions. Its released data models state officials use to project whether infections, hospitalizations, and deaths are likely to rise or fall. So this just goes on to talk about how he created this, right? He created all these restrictions, but at the start of last week, no regions appear likely to have the stay-at-home order lifted soon because the capacity was well below 15%, but within a day, within a day, the state announced it was lifting the order for the 13 county greater Sacramento area. Suddenly, outdoor dining and worship services were okay again. This is according to Yahoo News. 99.7% of the time, I am using the same official news sources as everybody else. I just actually go read them without having to hear Don Lemon or Anderson Cooper or what's the little short round dude? What's his name? or all these other people put their little spin on things. This is straight from Yahoo News. So now magically, all of a sudden, we've met the threshold to reopen. California was basically the last key player in this to have to come out and say something. And I knew 2 weeks ago when I made that rant video that this was going to happen. It's very unfortunate. And I really hope that all the people that hated me, were mean to me, told me that I was trying to kill people's grandmas, told me I was being irresponsible because I don't think the government should bust in your door for having 11 and a half people in your home. I really hope all of those people stuck with me through this time to see what the actual truth is. Some of us, I want to almost say unfortunately, because it sucks to watch this happen right before our eyes, but some of us knew early on, like, y'all, this is not making sense. Some of these numbers are not adding up. Even now, I don't have this pulled up to show y'all, but excuse me, I don't have this pulled up to show y'all, but I have it. I think I posted it on my Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, make sure you follow me over there. I am RhondaMary. But they've even literally changed the threshold for the testing. The WHO organization came out and changed the testing threshold, which means that you're going to have less positive cases than before. They literally, they're changing the rules right in front of our eyes. And then the crazy part about it is, just wait. Give it probably like 3 to 4 more weeks before you're going to have all of these people like Fauci, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. You're going to have the WHO organization. You're going to have them come out and praise the Joe Biden administration, talk about how all these other states handled this so well. How Joe Biden came in, swooped in, and saved the day. And y'all literally changed the rules right in front of our eyes. They literally, reports went from California surging one day to the next day, we plateaued. Like, what? And I just try to explain, like, I try to make people understand that these people are not to be trusted. You constantly have to wash their hands. And it's sad because it shouldn't be like that. But it is. And the more I've learned and the more I pay attention, like, I'm going to even show y'all with this executive order that Joe Biden just signed. I'm like, when you actually go read it, as opposed to that little 30-second clip that they give you on TV, it's like, man, like, if you not really getting into what these people are saying or doing, it's no way to actually get into what they're saying or doing. Then on top of the WHO just changing the threshold for the PCR test, Joe Biden goes on to say we're going to rejoin the organization. I never did content about this, but I think I mentioned it. But if y'all didn't know, there were literally officials in other countries who were coming out to the press saying that the WHO was what's the word I'm looking for? The WHO was basically trying to wager them. I cannot think of the word I'm trying to think for y'all. Please, like, help me out. My brain been a little frazzled today. but basically trying to pressure them to come out and meet certain regulations, to put their countries and stuff under different lockdowns and stuff like this. And it's like, I don't know, man. This has just been super unfortunate. I was in a gym this morning at Planet Fitness. It was super packed. And all I kept thinking about was how much I literally hate Planet Fitness. But now, because of the lockdowns, the small, local, black-owned gym that I've gone to for years, they couldn't afford to open back up after the lockdowns. So now I'm forced to basically go to places like Planet Fitness, and it's sad and it really sucks. And it bothers me that none of the anti-capitalist people could come out and speak about things like this, like the hypocrisy. And I don't. So what's gonna happen? And it's already starting to happen a little bit. It's already starting to happen. That's what I'm about to show y'all. But as the years go on, they're gonna come out and talk about how all the negative things that came out of the lockdowns and the lies, and it'll probably be 3 to 5 years before you hear people coming out talking about how racist the lockdowns were, right? So it's going to be very akin. I mean, this psyop is right on par with 9/11. That's how bad we're talking. I mean, it's sad. It's so much corruption, man. It's so much corruption around this. Jupiter said, sad part is we are all full, then realize we were full. Sad part is trying to tell people they are full but want to stay being a fool. I don't know in how many different ways like you can explain it or even show it to people. And then I've had people like accusing me of like they'll say like, oh, you're anti-vax, or you have an agenda against the vaccination. After every single thing that we've seen, it is self-love at this point to be critical of these people. Anything less than that, like I'm not even sure you care about yourself, you care about your well-being, your safety, your family. Like, how could you not be skeptical after the position that they put us in? We didn't do this. They did. So it's just crazy. Thank you, Maurice. Maurice just signed on to my Patreon. Thank you so much, Maurice. So here we go. This is Vice coming out with their little special. COVID is creating a deadly mental health crisis. I'm not going to play it for the sake of time, but I'll drop that link below, or it's right on Vice News. But the first few minutes into it, this lady's talking about her dealing with bipolar and how she couldn't get to the doctors. The doctors wouldn't see her. They wouldn't re-prescribe. Think about all the people. This is already one of the most fill in the blank generations, right? But even beyond that, just imagine the increase in mental health issues, drug abuse, all this type of stuff. Then this came out in Vegas. I mean, we've been talking about this over here early on. Check on those babies. Like, to some extent, what I've seen from people is not natural. I've seen people on Twitter talking about they only come out of the house for like groceries, if that. People getting their groceries ordered, their food ordered, working from home or staying at home because they're not working, not going to family gatherings, not meeting with friends. Like, come on. This is real clear politics. Surge of student suicides push Las Vegas schools to reopen. In Las Vegas, you were having tons of kids that were committing suicide. And you were having alerts of kids having self-harm and suicidal thoughts. Then, I don't even know if y'all knew this. I talked about this on Instagram today. How many of your local news stations or even your mainstream media is running this story around the clock? Most people don't even know this is going on. I talked about this in 2020. I told people, especially as winter comes up and people start to actually, because early on we probably weren't really feeling it yet, and it still hasn't hit us yet. I think people are going to soon see. Y'all, this whole time I thought I was screen sharing. People are going to soon see. Hold on. Will I screen share? Okay, here we go. So you got New York Times students pushing to suicide. This is CNN. Despite COVID-19 and stay-at-home orders, 2020 saw an increase in homicides across the U.S. I don't think they said in this particular article, but 2020 is going on record as the most homicides in history, in American history. It's been a deadly year, and that's not just due to COVID-19. Despite less activity outside with the closing of businesses and schools, 2020 saw a dramatic increase in homicides. Between January and October, there was a 29% increase in homicides compared to the same time frame in 2019. According to a November report from the National Commission on COVID-19 and Criminal Justice, as of December 27, some of America's largest cities saw dramatic increases as well, including Chicago, a 55% increase in homicide. New York, 41% increase in homicide. Los Angeles, 30% increase in homicide. We talked about this. You can go back and check the records. Like, I wasn't trying to fearmonger, but I was telling people, like, it hasn't hit us yet. People are going to be hungry out here. You got half the country out of work. You had Thanksgiving and Christmas coming around. Like, people are preying on people. This is a very vulnerable time. And so you have this chart here with New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, Phoenix. I posted another chart on my Instagram earlier today, RhondaMary Vids, and it has even more cities. It has maybe like the top, maybe like 15 cities, and it shows you the increases in homicides. Why do you think they're not blasting this all across your mainstream media and they may be talking about it on your local news? If people really knew the increase in homicides were increasing like this during these lockdowns, they will have to take another approach. This is CNN. They even go on to talk about this. The increase was due to a number of factors, criminology experts told CNN. The pandemic closed schools and businesses, leading to unemployment. You think? This meant children and unemployed adults were stuck at home, which led to skyrocketing stress and anxiety levels, especially in lower income homes. The virus also changed the way police officers do their jobs. because of illness and social distancing, which in turn led to fewer officers on the streets in areas that needed crime prevention the most. Well, I don't know. People were saying defund the police. So in 2020, so possibly some of those areas that were being patrolled, right? Some of those areas were being patrolled. Maybe the community didn't want them there. I don't know. But there's several reasons why they're not going to blast this on the news cycle, right? They don't want you to know that after so many people spent 2020 talking about defunding the police, that now at the same time, homicides were skyrocketing, that these issues were not being resolved. So it's like at this point, y'all coming out telling more and more of the truth. And so many of us knew this was going to happen. They're going to sprinkle a little truth there. They're going to sprinkle a little truth here. And then over time, it's just going to add up. And for some people, it'll finally click. And for some people, it never will. But it's, I feel bad, and I do feel some type of way watching this happen right in front of us. I feel bad for people that had to come to these lockdowns. Like I said, it affected me personally, by affecting my gym that I had been going to for years, and also affecting one of my favorite eateries, right? So, and I can just imagine you have some business owners, as this information comes out, that are frustrated, that are upset. They probably wish they would have handled things differently. Some people probably are going to look back and wish they would have defied these orders. If you can wait till right after a new administration, and just coincidentally all the rules start changing all of a sudden, and then you have the nerve, the gall to say, oh, we're not gonna release that information because we don't think y'all can handle that, right? Just like you had Fauci, who came out months later and said, oh, I lied about herd immunity, but I didn't think y'all could handle the truth. So now I'll tell you the truth. But this man is also now was the highest paid person in 2020. So this is the level of corruption. This is the level of corruption that we're dealing with. And but I mean, I guess, on a brighter side, things are going to be opening up soon, and people can go on about their business. But I hate to see so many people being pushed into these corporations. That's bothersome to me, to aid in the decimating of the middle class. It's bothersome to me. And some people just aren't going to see it. They aren't going to accept the data till it's just plain. So, but I had to let y'all know about that. I highly doubt most people are talking about this huge surge in homicides, and how they're finally coming out little by little, telling us the truth. So let's go look at this, y'all. We have to talk about Twitter's new snitching program. There's a reason why I don't vouch for censorship. Because it's affected me personally. I've literally seen it affect people that I like follow and engage with and stuff like that, I've seen, and the crazy part about it is some people are so one track minded, man, that they're only going to see the view that the media is telling them. If the media tells them, oh, we're only going to censor white supremacists, then they really think the media is only going to censor white supremacists. And literally, I follow home birthing pages, doulas. I follow people that like grow their own food. I follow people that do stocks and like self development, all this type of stuff. A plethora of different lanes of people I follow. Even like herbal remedies and all this type of stuff are being censored. People are being censored. So 9 times out of 10, if the media is painting something to you one way, it's probably a little bit more to it. But yes, Twitter is starting a snitching program. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Man, this is the most disturbing and pathetic thing. So they're gonna start by testing it out, so you can snitch, because this is what this is. You can snitch to Twitter. You can play hall monitor, right? Or the playground tattletale for Twitter without getting compensated for it. You want a freaking pat on the back from big tech? This is like ridiculous, upsetting, mind-blowing. So the example they used was, this guy was like, whales aren't real, the government is using them to spy on us. And you have all these people commenting, and somebody can go snitch and say, oh, well, that's not true. Like, are you kidding me? So we're completely killing sarcasm, which I if y'all follow my Twitter, like, my sarcasm, I'm just on another one with it. But we're killing sarcasm. We're killing comedy. We're killing things just said and just. It's like Twitter is single-handedly trying to help destroy their platform. I tweeted something the other day and it got almost 5,000 likes on it. If y'all are not following me on Twitter, make sure you follow me on Twitter at I am RhondaMary. I basically said, what did I say? I said something about Joe Biden went into that. Okay, here it is. I said Biden was on that conference call with Black leaders and told them don't expect any executive orders for Black people, that everything would have to be through Congress. Then he got in there and bust out like 50 executive orders on day one, right? Laughing emojis. Now, part of this tweet is literally sarcasm, right? So Biden was on a conference call and told Black people, Black leaders, don't expect an executive order. I'm not just gonna push things through. Everything has to go through Congress. He literally said that. As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I did the content on it. However, we all know that Joe Biden got in there and bust out about 17 executive orders on his first day. And I think about 30 maybe altogether so far. So I put 50 to give it a little comic relief. And now to know that people are going to be able to go in and say, oh, well, this is false. This is partly false. They are trying their best, their darndest, to capsulate speech. To put parameters and borders around the things that we're talking about, that we're sharing. Even this thing that this guy tweeted, right, in this video. If I was to see that and somebody is talking about, oh, government isn't really real. Whales aren't really real. The government created to spy on us. I would probably see that and laugh, maybe like it and scroll on past and not think of anything else about it. The crazy part about it is this continues to aid in the agenda of nobody wanting personal responsibility. I don't know if it's the people that don't want personal responsibility or if it's the government saying y'all don't deserve any level of personal responsibility. Right? Just like a guy that responded to the tweet that I just told y'all about the executive orders, and he was like, this is not true. Y'all just say anything, right? And so I did go back and basically clarify, because I wanted to be, I wanted to let him know what was going on. So I told him the same thing I just told y'all. He's under my post telling other people to come look at my post to see if it's true. I'm like, dude, you're a grown man. You literally could have took seconds. Google is free. Don't like Google. DuckDuckGo is free. But nobody wants to do the work. Nobody wants to do the research. Nobody wants to be responsible, to think for themselves. Nobody wants to. It's like people are so scared for you to even get information because they think you might actually start thinking and using your own brain. And it could lead you somewhere that they don't want you to be led. But it's sad. It's sad. I was talking about this the other day. I was like, do y'all know why nobody talked about Kevin Hart's last comedy special? It's because if you're saying what you're only allowed to say, there's nothing funny about that. There's nothing funny about the fact that you've been neutered as a comedian, and you're literally, it was so cringy to me because through the entire special, he was like almost like apologizing before even telling every joke. And I'm like, is this really what we have to look forward to? And I don't know if some of y'all remember, but back in the day, man, Twitter used to be lit. Like, Twitter was lit. Twitter was wild, man. And I was even looking at a thread today on Twitter that had some of the old Vines on there. Y'all remember Vine when people used to make like 10 to 30-second videos, and in 10 seconds could be so like funny and memorable and engaging. Unfortunately, when you have censorship, what happens is it stifles ideas, it stifles creativity, it certainly stifles humor. And so we're just getting to a really scary place. We're getting to a whack place. Like, I don't want to be around everybody that thinks the same. I don't want to do that. I want to be around people that can spark thought, challenge me, give me a perspective that I never even thought about. Like, it literally never crossed my mind. And now that I heard it, it's like that makes sense, but I just never thought about it. They are slowly but surely removing these possibilities. And the funny part about it is all of the progressives that are supporting this don't even realize that it's just all anti-establishment. It's just all anti-establishment. If people don't think that some of these, even if we're talking about um, um, unarmed killings, if y'all, you really think they're gonna give you a chance to talk about this during the era of Joe Biden? Maybe a little bit, but some of that is for sure going to be censored and stifled. 100%. And then they create the algorithms to promote what we talk about. Everybody talking about Harriet Tubman on the 20. First of all, with inflation, that money is not about to be really worth anything. Then the fact that we're going, unfortunately, more towards a cashless society. You don't even have people using cash as much. And not only that, the people that freaking look like Harriet Tubman, their median wealth is expected to be zero by 2053. I mean, so it's like, oh, just give them a little symbolism. Put this in the internet's world. Throw a little something for them in the Twitterverse. Get them talking. Like, what? We're in the middle of a pandemic, and I don't even know what happened to the whole $2,000 check thing. Are people still talking about that anymore? I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. Apparently, they're still trying to decide. But if my memory serves me correctly, it was like get Warnock and who was the other person? Get Warnock and such in there, and get $2,000 checks right out the door. So, like, it's like what's really happening at this point. The symbolism is glaring. Gab said, what's the Snitch program? So basically, I just basically finished talking about it, but Twitter is starting a program called the birdwatch, where if you tweet something, somebody can basically go in there and be like, this is not true. And they report to Twitter, this is not true because that's going to stifle creativity, sarcasm, humor, different thoughts, all of that. So it's just crazy. Marcus said, well, think about it, Rhonda. If they tell us the truth, why in the hell would we agree to let them have all the power they have to base it on all lies? That is so, I mean, that's just as real as it gets. Like, There's no lies there. They know that they're losing grasp. They're losing grasp, and it's a big divide, right? Of people that want to know the truth, want to know what's going on, and want to actually not just hashtag about standing up to the government, but want to do these things in practice. One of them being out against this wicked lockdown agenda that has been based on a lot of lies. And so they know they're losing a big grasp of people, and so they want to shut down people that tell the truth, so none of the inquisitive, maybe a little bit open-minded, so it'll be no light bulb set off. It's crazy, man. Steven said, does Twitter really need a snitch program? Obviously, they think so. Obviously, they think it reminds me, it kind of makes me think of like going to Walmart and checking out your own groceries. Twitter is getting to the point where they want to be so in control of everything, but they don't want to pay people. They don't want to pay more people to sit there and be fact checkers, right? And to control the algorithm and tell you like, oh, this tweet is whatever. So they're going to get the people to participate, and not only getting the people to participate, but we have to even think about the mentality that creates. It has everybody looking at everybody else with a skeptic eye, and not only that, even feeling empowered, like, this is not true. It's crazy. Thank you, Steven. Thank you, Marcus. Hey, y'all, mugs link below in the description box. But all right, y'all, last but not least, let's talk about your boy Joe Biden coming out with the executive orders. Let's see. Let me get it pulled up. So Joe Biden came out today and delivered remarks outlining his racial equity agenda and signs executive actions. So we're going to take a look at these last few minutes. And we're going to see what he says that are in these.
This first executive order is a memorandum for the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development to address our nation's and the
Y'all, I just think that's so funny. I just think it's so funny. Maybe funny isn't the right word. Maybe it's more like ironic. I just think it's so ironic that Black Lives Matter was like the magic carpet that flew this man right into the presidential office. Yet he got in here doing his racial equity executive order signing and said Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. If that's not ironic, y'all, like let's just be real. Let's just keep it what it is. Let's just say what it is. He said a lot of cute things in the speech that somebody in the comments just told me everybody in the shade room on Instagram clapping for, right? He said a little cute and strong things in the speech. But what does it, how long I've been telling people for years, this all that matters. If it's not inked on paper, what is it doing for you? Can you bathe in it? Like, I just don't. I'm not impressed with symbolism, and I think sometimes people get annoyed because I'm not impressed with symbolism. I don't care about who's on money. I don't care about. I was just thinking about this the other day. Y'all remember the video I did when everybody was going crazy because the Chloe girl was gonna play like the mermaid or something, and I was like, okay, Waka Flocka face. But I don't, it doesn't move me. It doesn't do anything for me. I feel nothing. And I don't mean to like rain on other people's parade. I really don't. But it's almost like abusive in nature. It's almost like the boyfriend that continuously beats on you, but then as long as he brings you flowers and gives you a cute little apology or says something nice, you just act like what he did to you never happened. So I just can't get with it. I can't get with it. So for him to even come out and address Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders specifically and on paper says something. But your mainstream media is most likely going to show you the cute speech. That's what they do. So anyway, some of the things he talked about within these executive orders, housing discrimination. So within that one, let me get it. I think this is it. So within the housing discrimination, they're basically like, because they love creating these committees and they can fund these committees to do stuff, and we don't even be knowing what the heck be going on. But basically, it's like, okay, well, we're going to look at some policies that may have affected things like HUD and things like that during the Trump administration. Okay, cool, whatever that means. It's no like something. It's just saying we're going to look at some of the other policies that were created before. He talked about basically the travel. I'm getting my V and my B mixed up. Travel bans, and creating relationships with other countries. He talked about basically like Native people, Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders doing things to build relationships with them. And then he talked about private prisons. So I'm going to talk about the private prisons in a second. Okay, so this is the discriminatory housing practice executive order. I will drop this below, but it's just a whole bunch of wording to tell you that they're going to look into some of the policies that were done during the last administration. Now, this was something that he signed on the 20th called advancing racial equity. And I thought this was super interesting. So it goes on to talk about how in the federal government, they're going to basically try to address like racial justice. And it never really says anything. It just talks about like assessing barriers, models, using models as tools and all this. All right, cool, whatever. But this is the crazy part that blew my mind, y'all, when I was reading this. This is general provisions. They put this at the very end of the executive order because they know people are not going to read. And I just think this is super interesting. It says verbatim, this order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any part against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. Y'all, verbatim, I'm mind blown. So I've read several executive orders during the Trump administration. I never remember seeing this little bylaw or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to read it again so it really just, so y'all can really soak this up. This order, talking about this executive order, this racial equity executive order, the very last thing it says, this order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefits, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, which means federal officers, law enforcement, employees or agents, or any other person. So they're basically telling you right before he put his signature on it that everything I said, we can't even be held to this. We don't even intend for this to give you any rights or benefits. So don't think that. Don't assume that. We're basically just saying a lot of stuff, and we'll see. We'll see what happens, how it turns out. We may do something, we may not. Like, it's literally plain as day. And they tell you, like, a lot of times, this stuff is there. They put it here. I mean, it doesn't even get more real than that. This doesn't grant you anything. This doesn't guarantee you anything. This doesn't benefit you anything. This is not a right. The equity that we're telling you that everybody was just in the shade room. Yeah, Joe, Uncle Joe, yeah. Love that speech. Is right in the executive order. This is not enforceable. This is not intended to be enforceable by law. This is not to provide, enforceable by law or in equity for anybody that works for the United States or any other person. Like, so when you take that into consideration after reading the executive order, to me, it sounds like we're basically going to build another commission. We'll probably look at some equitable things to do. We'll start looking at like budgetary needs and proposals and stuff like that. But this is not, it's not a right. It's not a benefit. So don't hold us to this. Plain as day, right here on whitehouse.gov. So this is the advancing racial equity executive order that was on January 20th that everybody was, I guess, hype about. So this is one of the things that he mentioned. This was the first executive order that he signed. Today, Biden directs Justice Department to end contracts with private prisons. Reviving an Obama-era push to phase out the use of private prisons, President Biden on Tuesday signed an executive order directing the Department of Justice not to renew its contracts with privately operated criminal detention facilities as a part of a slew of actions geared towards racial equality. The executive order directs the Attorney General to create no new contracts with private prisons, but only applies to Department of Justice facilities, according to Biden's domestic policy advisor, Susan Rice. This means that the order will impact the 12 private prison facilities housing roughly 14,000 inmates that are currently contracted by the Department of Justice, but not private detention centers contracted by states or other government agencies, such as the Department of Homeland Security. A total of 116,000 prisoners will be held in private detention facilities in the U.S. in 2009. So those under the Department of Justice domain just make up a small portion. So this is basically, from what we could tell right now, going to affect only the contracts with the Department of Justice. So no other private contracts, federal contracts. It'll affect 12 private prisons, 14,000 inmates. So basically, I don't know all the layers and structural workings of the prison systems. But what it sounds like to me, they're just going to basically end up moving these 14,000 people to other areas. Plus, I mean, we don't even really know like when these contracts end that they already have with these private prisons. These contracts could be for years on end. Now, in some regards, I do think that this executive order could be looked at as a good thing as far as basically decreasing the private detention centers. And why I say that is because the boom, I don't know, y'all probably know this, but the boom of private detention centers actually came as a product of the crime bill in the 80s. So in some regards, you can, I guess, a little bit say that this kind of undoes that in some ways. So I guess that's an upside to look at things, but I find it very interesting that, like I said, even as Joe Biden was signing that order, they don't go into really, they don't go, of course they're not going to go into detail about, you know, what they really mean and how this happens. We just get we're gonna get rid of private prisons, signs off and goes to the next executive order. But just to give you a little bit information about that, sounds like maybe 14,000 inmates are just gonna end up getting moved to a state a state-owned facility. I've never been in prison, so the I don't know the pros and cons of being in a private prison versus a state prison. Still prison, I would think. And somebody's still benefiting from the people in that system's labor. I will hope in some regards, this could be a signal of the prison population actually shrinking and people getting out for non-violent offenses, right? After they've done their time, being able to get out for those non-violent offenses. So, but I'm not even sure if that's really what we're seeing here. So I think it's going to take a little time to know on this, but yeah, Joe Biden is a perfect person to deal with this, because a lot of what we see today with the prison system is a direct a product of that crime bill. And the private prison industrial complex basically exploding right after he signed it. They're like, yeah, we're about to invest in this. We're about to get in this building, this business. But it's been a lot going on, we'll see. I mean, Joe Biden has gotten here and taken off. It's a lot more we could talk about, from the fracking to I don't even know. It's been so much. But I talk about all this stuff pretty much like on my Twitter. Twitter is my most active platform. I am RhondaMary on Twitter. The things that I don't get to cover on my channel, the things that sometimes I don't even talk about like on my Instagram page, I'm constantly tweeting about as things are going on. So, but those are the things that we had to talk about tonight. I know that the media is going to try to paint this as some type of victory or win, but it's very kind of limited. Some of the things that are going on. Also, I just thought it was just super funny and ironic that, Black women saved America, Black women got us the White House. And then you go in and be like, all right, we doing this for the Asians, the Pacific Islanders. We want to make sure we good with the natives. Oh, man, y'all know I ain't right. But anyway, so I had to just break that down. I am going to keep my eye on this to see what happens as we move forward. I definitely want to see what happens with this whole private prison system. What the timeline is going to look like for that, and what exactly is going to happen. What happens with these 14,000 inmates? Are they just dispersed to other places? And then another thing that I'm thinking about right now is that if over time we've completely exploded our prison population, right? Because of all these new laws, you have all these law enforcers enforcing unconstitutional laws and all these other things that have happened, 3 strikes. Because of that prison population exploding like that, if you're getting rid of the private prisons, are you just going to build more public ones, or are you just stuffing 14,000 people into already populated prisons? And that just seems like that could be a bad thing when you think about like COVID and just hygienic things and stuff like that. So that's why I said I'm really not fully seeing how this is going to go at the moment. But time will tell. Time will tell. Lakora said America is good at pacifying Black folks. CJ said, I think shuffling, but if we get more prisoners, then it'll be government ran prisons. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to look more into, because now I'm curious to know some of the main differences between private prisons and the government funded ones, because you're still benefiting from those people's labor in the government prison systems. And so labor, I don't know if I'm explaining this right. It may not be like profit in terms of this person that owns this private prison getting made, but your labor still turns into some type of money cycle energy for the government. So I'll be looking more into that too, so I can make sure the next time we talk about this, I can flesh that out a little bit more. But all right, y'all. So thank y'all for rocking with me every Tuesday. Y'all know I had to bring y'all a little bit of what's been going on lately. If you are new here, make sure you definitely subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much to my patrons, to my VIP patrons, Michael, Ray, and Daniel. Thank you to everyone that super chatted tonight. And thank y'all for always rocking with me on Tuesdays. Don't forget, hey y'all, mugs, teas, all that stuff in my link. I will be talking to y'all soon. Have a good night. Bye.